No dog sold or raised for illegal purposes. This is a historical and entertainment-based channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah. Episode 74, yeah. Yeah. Presenting the case for the Junkyard Bandit. Is Miss Cadillac considered unsung? A look into Scratchback Kennel's champion Kano. Let us analyze the evidence on this episode of Bulldog Court. Bulldog community, please rise. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game.
Court is now in session.
Yeah, man. This is your boy, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm so happy that you could join me tonight. You could have been anywhere else in the Bulldog streets, but you decided to come kick it with your boy. And I'm so happy that you did. You underdig. I'd like to thank everybody for checking out last week's Bulldog Court episode 73. Well, we had a stinking foot good time, no toe jam included. Y'all already know we discussed a lot of different things. The cases, of course. And then, we slid right over to the Bulldog Court live after show with the Cap brothers. Y'all already know. King T, aka Short Bush Cap. Pressure Kano Combine, aka Pressure Cap. And of course, the Honorable J-Bo, aka Papa Cap, was in the building. And we did that, man, and we had a blast, discussed some different topics off the road, We discussed the cases, then we ventured off the road, had a lot of fun, cracked a lot of jokes, a lot of people laughing in the chat, man. Salute to all the Cap racks that came through Bulldog Courts, through the proceedings that I had that evening, and then slid over with us to the Bulldog Court live after show. We really appreciate that, man. Numbers doing real good. Not that I count numbers, but hey, I have to be appreciative of everything that has occurred, and the love and the viewership has been there. So hey, man, I appreciate it. Then, we getting into the hump day Cap with the Cap brothers. Pressure Kano Combine, aka Pressure Cap. King T, aka Short Bush Cap. And our brother, the Honorable One, J-Bo, came through non-stop in the background, you know what I'm saying? Doing his 1-2. Hey, man, we just had a fun time, man, and that's what it's all about in the Bulldog community, man. We can get the knowledge, we can get the history, but we also can have a good time as well. It ain't all gotta be drama and hating and, all this other rigmarole, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, they draw to that. But hey, sometimes it's just good to have a good vibe. No weirdos. You know what I'm saying? Just, kind of keep them at bay. That way you can have a nice, smooth show. So, like I say every time, man, I am not the judge nor jury, for it is up to you, the Bulldog community, to decide which way the tide may roll. So, I'm not going to prolong the time. For my first case, presenting the case for the Junkyard Bandit. And what I mean by this, when I'm talking about the Junkyard Bandit, I'm talking about none other than Junkyard's champion bandit, registered merit. Now, here is an animal that is well bred. There's a lot of Eli talk going on in the Bulldog Talk streets this week. I thought it was only right that we also continue that conversation, but give you one that is, maybe you've never heard of in that world of the Eli world. Salute to Scratch TVG for the world of Eli video, and Fat Bill with his challenge to the community that Bulletin, that Eli is the best family of dogs, and he challenged the community on that debate, and others who have talked about extensively about the Eli dog. So this is one that you may not know of, that the Register of Merit throw many champions, bred up by Wrecking Yard Kennel. Salute to Wrecking Yard. This animal, we will go into how he is bred. But first, I would just like to say this part of the show, I have been looking at Register of Merits or PORs who could be considered an unsung Register of Merit or unsung POR. And sometimes they could be all of the above. You know, there are some unsung champions and grand champions, believe it or not, in history that they have become POR in Register of Merit, and nobody really knows who they are. And they produce, you know, were able to reproduce themselves to a certain extent, you know, or produce winners, and still didn't become a household name. Nobody still knew really, you know what I'm saying, who they are. And sometimes you think, well, maybe they kept it all home based and they kept it all to themselves. And it's like, when I do that research, no, a lot of these dogs, they were passed out. You know, these dogs were won in many different people's hands, but yet no recognition whatsoever, no accolades into that manner or acclaim. And so this is what we're looking at. So we will get into the pedigree of Junkyard's Bandit. Okay, his sire was Wrecking Yard's Buster, 2-time winner, 1-time game loser, who was out of Trump Shotgun, POR, and Hyde's Cine. And so Trump Shotgun was out of Grand Champion Gillis Gizmo, 7-time winner, Register of Merit. I might have heard that it was some cap on that Gizmo rap.
Come on, man.
But I'm not sure he still produced. Bred to Chauncey's Brick. Brick was out of Grand Champion Lee's Candyman. Bred to Sparks Molly. And Grand Champion Gizmo also was out of Lee's Grand Champion Candyman, but bred to Gillis Tonka. Okay, Hyde's Cine was out of Hyde's Suicide and Boudreaux's Angel. Hyde's Suicide, of course, is out of Hyde's Billy Sunday and Hyde's Cape. Boudreaux's Angel is out of Boudreaux's Maverick and Boudreaux's It. Now, for Bandit's Dam, Wrecking Yard's Sambella, POR, who was out of Kate's Cujo, who was out of Grand Champion Niggerino, Kate's Grand Champion Niggerino, and Kate's Miss Kitty. So that was a Stompanato Eli Jr. cross right there on the Kate's Cujo side of the game. They bred Kate's Cujo to Athan's Rosebud, who was out of Niggerino, bred to McCarthy's Patches, also a heavy Stompanato female, the Patches female. So heavy Eli with a little bit of Carver cut up in there. Can't go wrong with that. But he will go on to produce dogs like Lucky Kennel Champion Lucky, Junkyard Kennel Champion Bandito, Junkyard Kennel Champion Lumi, Best in Show, and Junkyard Kennel's Champion Yacht, Champion Bitch, Best in Show. I think that Lumi dog got a picture of him up there with a hat on and a doggone what looked like a giant hanging out his mouth. One of them dogs, man. Hold on, I'm gonna show it right. Hold on, whoever did that, that's funny as hell. But I'm just presenting the case for Junkyard's Bandit, Champion Bandit. Like I say, he did what he did. He was a handful himself, and he would begin to produce others like himself, but yet get no, notoriety, no light shined on them, on him or them. Because all of those could very well be, all those champions could very well be unsung champions. To do a best in show, most people don't even know who those dogs are. Maybe we will do another episode and just talk about those couple of champions and go into their pedigrees and how they're bred and how they produce. But I'm going to leave this right here. I want you to do your own due diligence on this champion, Junkyard's Bandit. Once again, salute the Wrecking Yard, man. I always putting it down in the Eli world. Shout out to all those that stay on their square. No matter what happens with the fads and stuff like that, they stay on their square, man. They stay true to themselves. And salute to them. So for the case of pleading the case for Junkyard's champion Bandit. This case is now dismissed. We'll get back to the show after these important messages.
Check out the Hump Day Cap podcast with the Cap Brothers, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bring your smokes and drinks and come kick it with the Cap Racks.
Hammerhead on the beat, bitch.
Oh, yeah, man. Now it's time for my second case. Could Miss Cadillac be considered unsung? Let us look into this. Now, when I'm talking about Miss Cadillac, I'm talking about none other than Game Island Kennels Grand Champion Cadillac. Yeah, we talking about some real Jocko today. No impersonated, imaginative Jocko. We talking about real Jocko today. I don't care who offended. If I stepped on your toes, holla ouch. Yeah. Enough of this folly in the Jocko world, especially concerning termite. And let me give my props where they really are truly due, because I believe in giving props to people who paved the way for a bloodline. And I'm not even gonna talk, or I can't even talk on Game Island before I even say rest in peace and honor to Ed Barrera or Bart Cayman Kennels. Yeah, rest in peace to him for building these building blocks that Game Island began to build upon. But first, before you give Game Island all his just due, all they just do, you gotta go and give the people who paved the way, who bred it previously. For years, they have been homing and cultivating this line. I got to teach somebody something. I got to show somebody about how to properly look at this in the right way. So not to offend somebody or make people think that you don't know what the hell you talking about. But I digress. Let us get into the pedigree of Game Island Kennels Grand Champion Cadillac. Number one, this female comes off of a Grand Champion by the name of Game Island's Grand Champion Cad, or Cad. Cad was off of Bart Cayman Kennels Pedro, P-O-R, who was off of Bart Cayman Kennels or Whaley's Joker, one-time winner, one-time loser game, and Bart Cayman's or Whaley's Witch, two-time winner. Now, both of those dogs will be sister and brother. They both were out of termite bred to Burns Bale, which is some yellow Cruise Wiggles type stuff. The bottom side of Cad is Game Island's Laura, two-time winner, who is out of Game Island's champion Black Joker and Game Island's Black Velvet, two-time winner, or Black Velvet 2, two-time winner. Black Joker was out of Game Island's Black Mate, one-time winner. Game Island's Black Velvet 2, two-time winner. And of course, like I said, Black Velvet 2, two-time winner, was out of Game Island's Black Mite, one-time winner, and champion Game Island's Laura Bell. So just even more Bart Cayman termite, two-time winner, heavily into the Bart Cayman blood. This is a kennel who, by all obvious, you can see it in the pedigree, have taken the torch and continue the legacy of the late Ed Barrera in carrying on this bloodline. That is commendable within itself, especially because people can read the pedigree and and you can see that they are carrying on. They are this top and bottom Bart Cayman blood, Bart Cayman's mixture of termite blood from Carolina Kennels. Shout out to Perry Pete. And these are some outstanding animals. Now, like I say, what I think, my opinions matters nothing. Nil and void in these cases. that I present, the legitimacy of the grand championships or what have you, or neither here nor there for me. But for you of the Bulldog community, this is vital information to understand and know and check into, dive into, do your own due diligence, your homework to see the validity of these grand champions or champions or so-called registered merits and PORs. Because we understand ain't nothing gonna stop the cap. You understand me? Ain't nothing gonna stop the cap. It will be cap out here. And for all we know, all of this could be cap. But they sure do look like that stuff. And they sure do have a record in which lets me know that somebody's very serious about cultivating and continuing the legacy of these particular strains of termite dogs or Jocko dogs. Because the termite is nothing but a Jocko Lonzo with a touch of Red Boy through Red Boy Jr. That's about it. So they put the burns in there, with, the yellow, put some more Red Boy Jocko in there. So this is basically all this animal is. It's heavy Jocko, Lonzo, and a little bit of Red Boy. That's it. That's all this whole entire lineage and line is really based out of. And been very successful from what the pedigree says. So we know, I would like to say people know, but I obviously not. People don't know anything about really Jocko dogs or termite dogs or a lot of these dogs, their characteristics are they are come from behind type dogs. And that can help to make you, make a better decision on whether or not you would like to be one of those ones that continue the legacy as far as breeding these type of animals, a family of animals. Whether you hog chase with them, whether you weight pull, whether you confirmation shows. But I just know these animals now, a lot of these termite dogs are, they're highly aggressive. Some, the Lonzo in there can't even be a little man aggressive, but for the most part, really good animals, really, really good animals. So, and especially if you know how to breed them, a lot of people, mess them up, breed them all kind of different ways, just mess them up. But if you know what you're doing, hey, might got yourself something. That's historically speaking, back in the days, that's the way that we would look at that stuff. But I look forward to your comments, your commentary, and for the case of, could Miss Cadillac be considered unsung? This case is now dismissed. Now, this is the segment of the show we call Bench Warrant. Now, for this week's segment of Bench Warrant, who do I give the bench warrant to this week? Man, oh man. I know I have talked to, or about, as a matter of fact, it was last week about the internet weirdos and stuff like that. But then also too, we have to look at the question to the community during this bench warrant, before I tell somebody to come in. Is perception stronger than reality? Man, if you gonna be a whole character on the internet, I feel as though, and then you gonna come into a certain community, wherever it is, you gotta at least be knowledgeable about the community. Looking for Ben Broughton, for example. I don't know if that's his real name, but he's knowledgeable about these dogs. He's knowledgeable about these animals. So when he flip out and switch up and turn into whatever character he wants to become, at least he has the basis of knowledge to be in the conversation while he trolls. Some of y'all don't even have no knowledge of no kind of dogs, but you in here trolling. I never got that. I never understood why when it come to dog talk, people ask you a question about what do you have, what are you feeding, and you name damn near every kind of dog you can possibly look up in Google right fast. I never understood that. I'm kind of curious about that. As a matter of fact, come in. Yeah, you right there. Yeah, don't look around. Yeah, you. Come here. Yeah, come here. Yeah, I got a few questions. Let me put this bright light in your face. Hope it make you start sweating instantly, nigga. I got some questions I want to ask you about this cartoon character ass thing you doing. Because it ain't making sense. But I guess you thinking that perception is stronger than reality. Or that ignorance gonna some kind of way give you a bypass on knowledge. I'm so sorry to tell you. Hell no. But that does it for this segment of Bench Warrant. Oh yeah. And now it's time for my third and final case. Is champion Kano an Unsung? And when I'm talking about Kano, I'm talking about none other than Scratchback Keno's champion Kano. I had to do it. Oh yeah. You know, you can't get out here without no G-Red Boy talk. You know, we gotta have some G-Red Boy talk going. You know. And I thought that this animal was an animal that I remember back in the days when he was alive. You know, he was an animal that buzzed in the G-Red Boy world because he was directly off a tab. But he had an unusual about him, not necessarily in the sense of the cross, because G-Red Boy Eli has always been consistent and always worked and has worked for many, many years. But the fact that they used the Bobby Hall strand of Bullison was a unique twist to this cross. And he also had a sister that I think that was a one-time winner. I could have swore he had another one that was a champion, but I could be mistaken. But let us look at the pedigree of champion Kano in depth, and we will go from there. Like I said, champion Kano is out of sired by Tab, White's Tab, registered merit, who is out of Jeep, and Marlowe's Tabby Girl, POR, Jeep, of course, one of the greatest of all time, registered merit, full-time winner. So I don't think we have to go any further than that. You know, we'll just do it for the greenhorn. Jeep is out of Finley's Bowen, champion Finley's Bow, registered merit, and champion Honey Bunch, registered merit. Marlowe's Tabby Girl is out of Marlowe's Mr. Bulldog and Marlowe's Brandy Girl. Now, champion Kano's Dam is Scratchback Keno's Flacker, who is out of Hall's Shorty Pearl, two-time winner, and Hall's Black Pearl. Now, Shorty Pearl was out of Hall's Black Carlos. Now, a lot of people say that Black Carlos is really Cardenia Shorty. But when he registers Cardenia Shorty, he calls him Black Carlos. When he's in Mexico, he's Cardenia Shorty. When he's in the United States, he's Hall's Black Carlos. This is what I was told years ago, but I digress. Shorty Pearl's dam was Sylvester's Pearl, who is out of, look at here, Rivers Frank and ANS's Patches. When we looking at Rivers Frank, I believe the very first unsung I ever did on Bulldog Court was the case of Rivers Frank being the most unsung. Of all unsungs, I felt as though he was one of the most unsung. So, shameless plug, you can go back and check that out. That might be episode 2 or 3 of Bulldog Court, and check that out. So, Black Pearl was out of Hall, Shorty Pearl, of course, two-time winner, and Hall's Misery. Misery was out of Cardenia's and Hall's champion Brujo, four-time winner, one-time loser, and Witzel and Dobbins' sister, two-time winner. So, very good bullets and blood, bred into some very good Jeep Red Boy blood, and voila, success. So let's not stop there. Let us look at what Kano was able to produce. You know, I never heard anything disputed upon his campaign career, so that is neither here nor there. It is what it is. He did what he did when he was doing what he was doing. Now, he will have a successful career, like I said, and he will go on to produce Grand Champion J5's TAB. Also, he will go on to produce Ray's Champion Flacca, Aries Champion Pacquiao, and Frontera Keno's Shaquille one-time winner. So I will leave this right here. I won't go any further, but I will say this. What do you say concerning Champion Kano? Do you feel as though he is considered an unsung? And also too, if you had Champion Kano, which way would you breed him? I'll leave that for you. So for the case of, is Champion Kano an unsung? This case is now dismissed. Oh yeah, now it's time for my closing monologue. Like I say every time, make your next move your best move, but move strategic, like a chess move. Say man, know and understand. I know it seems hard at first, especially, but your everyday process of doing things the right way every single day will pay off to a word called consistency, and then eventually land you into the world of success.
So just do it!
This is your boy, Get a Hope James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm out.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and tell a dogman or woman about the Sporting Dog Archive.